Hello everyone, and today I want to talk about the NHS. So this is going to be one of my kind of rambling, ranty things. The reason I want to talk about the NHS is because this year, 2018, celebrates the 70th anniversary of the NHS. And another reason why it's kind of in my mind at the moment is because we've had yet another government announcement of extra cash for the NHS. This time apparently £20 billion. And it's kind of that announcement that's prompted me to talk about this. Because yet again, it seems like the supposed solution to all the woes of the NHS is to simply throw more money at it. And it's not, in my view. And that's because the NHS is just a bottomless pit that will just keep sucking up more and more money the more you throw at it. If you give it an extra £1 billion, it'll spend that £1 billion and still need more. If you give it £10 billion, it'll do that. £20 billion, the same thing. It just goes on and on. And the reason I say that, and this might make me a little bit unpopular, is because the NHS is not fit for purpose for the 21st century. But the NHS has become such a sacred political cow that the moment anyone dare says, oh, I think we should look and do things a little bit differently, there's uproar. You'll get whoever the party in opposition at the time is going, oh, this is outrageous, yeah, this is attacking our National Health Service, our British institution that's looked after so many people. And the thing is, the moment they're in government and they try and do exactly the same thing, and then the opposition of the day, whoever that is, then does exactly the same thing, and it's become a complete political football. I mean, you only have to look at the kind of social commentary that goes on the NHS. And only a complete and utter moron could subscribe to the fact that one political party is the party of the NHS and another political party isn't. I mean, it's stark raving bonkers. Yet regardless of their political persuasion, successive governments have failed the NHS. And it's not just about how much money they have or haven't put in. That's a small part of it. And there's no way that any politician that goes into government, becomes Secretary of State for Health, Prime Minister or anything like that, goes in saying, I know what, I hate the NHS, I'm going to do whatever I can to mess it up. Yeah, we shouldn't be. It's nonsense. And so the NHS has become this political tool, and it seems like the only solution that anyone can do is just throw money at it. I mean, on one side, you've got to hand it to the BMA. I mean, they're one of the most effective, for want of a better word, trade unions, lobbyists that you can ever meet. They've somehow managed to kind of propagate this lie that if you don't put loads of extra money, that you hate doctors and nurses and you want to kill our children. You know, that kind of attitude. Yeah, and I know most doctors and nurses went into the profession because they got a vacation. They didn't do it to earn mega money. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be paid an honest, decent wage for the good work that they do. So why is it that money isn't the solution? Or just purely money isn't the solution? Two reasons. The first of which is the culture of the NHS. The culture in the NHS is just so profligate, it's unbelievable. I don't know a business anywhere else that kind of treats financial budgets in such a advisory way. You know, as a kind of, oh yeah, well, yeah, we got those figures, but hey ho. You know, there seems to be an attitude that, oh, we're saving people's lives, so therefore, you know, money's not we just spend money and we spend whatever it takes to provide that care. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Of course, you're not going to turn someone away from treatment or whatever just because your budget's a bit tight in a particular year. But I can't think of another example in the private sector or even in the public sector where there is just such a disregard for budgets. I mean, let's take local government for example, which is an area that part of the public sector I know best, that I've been in, worked in. Councils have to set what they call a balanced budget every year. So that means that each year you have to make sure that your income and expenditure match. So if you overspend, you have more demand, well, you have to find that money elsewhere. From reserves, or you might borrow some money, all that sort of thing. But you have to set a balanced budget, and it's a legal requirement. It is illegal for a council to set a budget that doesn't balance. But we don't have that in the NHS. No, in the NHS, a balanced budget's an aspiration. And no one really kind of says anything or does anything when the budgets don't meet. So that would be a first change. Wastage is another area. When I used to live in London, my next door neighbour was not in the greatest of health. She had a carer that came in every day. I used to go and do her weekly shop for her. My other half used to go in and help out with some other bits and pieces. She was right on that cusp of being able to stay at home and actually needing proper full-time care. But she had these oxygen bottles and kind of machinery and equipment of stuff that when she was short of breath she'd shove it on her face, and some drugs that would be vaporized and she'd inhale it that way. So she used to have these disposable masks. So the district nurse turns up, big brown cardboard box full of these masks. I mean, had to be 150 masks in there, all individually sealed, plastically sealed, so they're all sterile, and that was great. She used to get that. Now, one day, I don't know whether it was the fact that the equipment broke or whether she needed slightly different medication or whatever it was, but it necessitated a change of the machinery, for want of a better word, that she was using. So it was still the same thing where she was taking oxygen and having to use a face mask, but this different machine that she had used a totally different connection for the face mask. So this box of masks that she had that had been brought into her were obsolete for her now because they didn't fit this new machinery. So the district nurse comes along with a new box of masks, great, so that she could use that. And I say to the nurse, okay, here's the old box of masks. She goes, oh, I don't want those. I went, what do you mean you don't want those? She goes, oh, I don't deal with it. I said, well, okay, well, that's fine, but there's kind of like 100 in here. She'd only used a few. So what needs to happen to them? She goes, well, nothing. I was like, what? I said, don't you want to use them again? Oh, no, we won't do that. I mean, I'm quite happy to take them in my car. If it's transporting them that's an issue, then just let me know where I need to take them and I'll take them. Oh, no, we won't do that. We won't use them again. I said, well, why not? Oh, well, we just won't. Now, it wasn't because of contamination or cleanliness or anything, because as I said, these are all individually sealed units. But it was simply this attitude of, oh, well, we've got this, and oh, we've given it out, and no point. And someone somewhere will have just gone, well, counted them out, and just order some more in somewhere. That's taken as written off. Now, that in itself might not be the most expensive thing in the world, when it might be less than 100 quid. But if that's the attitude, imagine that going on up and down the country, and all of a sudden you're into thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of money that could be saved. And this culture also seems to transfer over into kind of procurement as well within the NHS. I mean, with the size of the NHS and the amount of drugs and such like that the NHS uses, I mean, it should be a procurement dream. The NHS should be demanding the lowest prices probably across the world. If Tesco's can offer a pack of 16 paracetamol for like 25p, or 30p, why can't the NHS buy for that sort of level? Once again, there doesn't seem to be any drive or desire to get kind of best value for money and the cheapest price for the taxpayer. It's all about, oh well, yeah, okay, we'll get this and it's convenient and we'll do. I mean, yeah, you do see it in other areas of the public sector for sure, but the sheer buying power that the NHS has by its size and usage should mean that drugs, equipment and everything like that should be the absolute cheapest out there, but it isn't. So the culture needs to change. Now the second thing that I think is the problem is, I think we have to ask ourselves seriously the question in the 21st century of, can we provide a healthcare service free at the point of delivery for everyone in the country today? Yeah, you've got to remember that the NHS was designed and put together 70 years ago. 70 years ago when, you know, the world was a very different place. You know, I don't even know what the population of this country was, but it's a fraction of what it is now. Life expectancies are so much higher now. So therefore people, you know, if we're being blunt about it, people are now using the health service more as they get older in life rather than just dying. I mean, I think the British people's attitude has got to change as well. The kind of sense of, oh, I'm entitled to this. I hate that phrase. Yeah, you know, we've all paid our taxes in and you could argue are entitled to access the NHS. That's great and that's fine. But are we now at the point where we need to say and encourage people that can afford it, that they should pay for the NHS, or encourage them to access private healthcare? I don't want to get into the debate of, oh, but private healthcare just takes, it's the same people working in both sectors and it just takes capacity away from the NHS. Yeah, that might be, but let's just say that for a moment we're in a world where it's not taking capacity out of the NHS, it's additional capacity. Yeah, should we be encouraging people that can afford it to do so? I mean, you know, I'm in a very fortunate position that, you know, financially I'm in a not a bad place. I have private healthcare. I think the NHS is great in many ways. You know, if one of my kids falls over and has an accident, down to A&E and they do a great job. You know, if I've got an operation, if I need an operation or something else like that, do you know what? I'm going to access my private healthcare because I can get it done quicker, more comfortably, in nicer surroundings. And my other half had her gallbladder removed some years ago. Yeah, she sat in an NHS hospital for 48 hours over a weekend with having collapsed at work, with people going, oh well, we need to run this test, oh but actually, you know, we can't run that test because that person's not back in till Monday, yeah, etc, etc, etc. Not being able to make a proper diagnosis, and it wasn't the fault of the doctors or the nurses in terms of that, it was just the way the system was set up and it just couldn't deal with it. I moved her into a private hospital, and within 3 hours of being in the private hospital, they diagnosed what the issue was, had the course of action, she went in for surgery the next day. The person, I don't know what the technical name is, but the people who do ultrasounds, they're not radiologists, I don't know, that's x-rays. Okay, so this person was out at the theatre for an evening and was paged, and she arrived in full evening dress, having had her evening, to come in late and say, I'll do your ultrasound now. Now, it'd be great if our NHS actually could provide that level of service, but I'm a realist to know that with the sheer numbers, we can't. But there's an awful lot of mickey taking that goes on there. Yeah, I know of people, parents at my children's school, well, particularly my son's primary school, who are not poor by any shape or form. They're not rich, but they're probably typical middle class actually. But will make an appointment and go along to see the GP when their child's unwell, simply to get their GP to prescribe Calpol on the NHS to them. Well, hello, pop down to Tesco's and pick up a bottle of Calpol. It's not going to break the bank, and I don't know how you do it both effectively to make sure that people don't fall through the gaps, which normally happens when you start rationing stuff, or how you can not make it a bureaucratic nightmare to administer. But we've got to get into a situation where actually those that really need the healthcare and can't afford the drugs get it, but those that really could afford to, perhaps, yeah, they should be paying. So what would I do to celebrate 70 years of the NHS? I'd scrap it. Yep, that's right, you heard me, scrap it. I'd get rid of it and start from scratch, because it's not fit for purpose of the 21st century. We need to completely redesign it. I'm all for a national health service of whatever shape and form that may take, but it's time to start again, because the way the culture's been built up, the way everything happens in the NHS, it's just become too much of an institution to ever be able to change now. So there you have my views on the NHS. As ever, love to hear your comments in the boxes below, whether you agree with me or if you disagree with me. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, keep it rubber side down, and I shall speak to you very soon. Cheers.